Okay, everybody. So I want to show you a few new research methods that you can utilize in your projects throughout the entire course. And these will especially become relevant in the last project of the course, which is the OS project. I would encourage you to take a look at these models of research and apply them to your first two projects. And we're going to be talking about them in the discussion boards as well. But what's really important is that as I introduce these, you practice them, you try them out, and you glean something from it. You learn how to utilize these different methods. I think that you'll find that the more practiced and well-versed you get with them, the better the results will be, the more information that you'll have available at your disposal to iterate on your designs, to change your designs completely. All right. Of course, this also means that in order to try these, you have to be a willing participant, or you also have to find willing participants. So let's get into it. The first one is called the concept model. Okay. In the concept model process, it's a method that is used to understand the relationships between all of the components within a subject, within an application, within a design, within a system, with anything. Okay, and this is how you visualize it. So just walking through this, here's the template. Concept models are diagrams that describe complex ideas, or concept models are diagrams that consist of shapes that are connected by lines identified by labels, all right, or shapes identified by labels. Labels describe complex ideas, and those complex ideas are broken down to nouns, nouns that may be familiar and help describe the unfamiliar, or nouns that may be unfamiliar that help describe the familiar, or nouns that are connected by verbs. So what this is really about is stepping backward and really trying to flesh out ideas, complex ideas, in a very simple way. If you follow this idea, this template out, you'll have a better understanding of your systems, all right? This is also useful in developing marketing funnels for communications or advertising. All right. The next one is contextual inquiry. Contextual inquiry is a research method conducted by visiting users in their natural settings and observing how they use your designs. So one of the things that I like to do is when I do a lot of work with public and community facing organizations, be they governments, libraries, or restaurants. One of the things that I like to do is in either of those scenarios is observe and report. Observe what people are doing in a space, like in a library. Where are they spending most of their time? How do they enter? What paths do they take? Is there a common row that most people go down? What is the actual design of an interior space? How are people engaging with those environments? Or even in restaurants, what are people ordering? How frequently are they ordering? How quick is the wait staff? Where are most people sitting? What's the smell of the place? What does the food taste like? What is the reaction to the prices? How long does it take to get takeout? Any conceivable observation or question you may have about a particular subject or a client in this case can really be answered through contextual inquiry. So generally, when I meet with my clients, I say, I'm going to come in someday, you're not even going to notice, and we're just going to observe, and we're going to see what people do and how they do it. And in some cases, this can be really fascinating. In other cases, it can be kind of boring, and in the most extreme, it can be kind of uncomfortable and scary. So for example, this one time back in, I don't know, 2013, 2014, I was doing work for a library in Ohio, and I made it a point to do some contextual inquiry. And I was watching some people use the library's little lab of computers, and it was a mix of people, young and old, black, white, whatever, boy, girl, man, woman. It was just all mixed. And I saw two people, they were looking at Facebook or Twitter, um, one was watching a YouTube on video games, and then one person was looking at pornography. So that was really interesting. Suffice it to say, I did not do any further contextual inquiry on that particular person. But regardless of the scenario or the context, what you need to do is you need to visit the users where they're living, where they're using your client's products or services. And you need to observe as much as possible and also take a lot of notes. You need to record data, okay? Um, what's also important here is that you are also repeating the visitation and the note taking with different users, right? So there are many stakeholders in a particular organization. So if we stick to the library example, I want to follow around some of the staff or the director of the library. I want to understand how they do their job, literally how they do it, where they do it. And I want to take notes, and I want to do that with the staff. Try to do that with as many stakeholders as possible, and it will give you the most well-rounded, comprehensive perspective on your end users and their goals and really what you need to do for them. Okay. Um, so you repeat that with different users, and then you collect the results, and then you interpret the results. And I think one thing that you may find, it could be as simple as everyone that enters this library always turns left. 8 times out of 10, people are turning left, which is kind of surprising. Or you could look at it as when it rains, people tend to stay a half an hour longer than they should have. Or when the books are checked in, they are put on a cart, and the cart doesn't only moves twice a day. I'm not saying you have to be there all day long. Obviously, you need to constrain your time because time is money. And if you're getting paid to just watch people, which is pretty easy way to get paid, you still need to manage your time accordingly. Contextual inquiry, I think for you folks, is going to be one of the easier and more practical things that you can do. So the next research method is called a desirability study. A desirability study seeks to understand emotional response. If you've had me for class before, you know I talk a lot about emotional content and emotional response. In fact, all of the work that I do is practically based on emotional response, emotional and contextual response. So what this desirability desirability study does, it associates variations of designs to a participant, and the participant then selects responses from a list of words. Okay, so if you go to xdstrategy.com/desirability-studies, you'll be able to learn more about this. But here's the Venn diagram on the right. So an end user is given 2 different designs. They get design A, and it's simple. It's straightforward, comfortable, fresh, organized, but it's boring. They get design B. It's modern, it's young, but it's unattractive. And then they get a fun one, which is approachable. It's clean and friendly, but it's a little bit more busy because it's intended to be fun and active. When you take those 3 things and you cross them over with one another, you'll find exactly what you need to have in your site or your product or your design to be simple, modern, and fun. And that would be easy to use, appealing, attractive, and accessible. Okay. You can have a list of whatever emotional words that you want, be they adjectives or phrases, or even just, nouns or verbs, whatever it is. It's your list, but it's a list that you need to build that would help you. There are lists out there that you can access. But nevertheless, a desirability study is going to get you exactly where you need to go very, very quickly. The Alito Method. The Alito Method is, it gathers research observations into a spreadsheet and examines them by the following: observations, judgment, value or motivation, concept, key metaphor, and extra or place and topic. Okay. Observation is about the individual observations about a user experience. Judgment is the explanation or interpretation your explanation or interpretation of observations that you make. Value is the usefulness of the observation for the user. When you watch people use your product, is it really useful at all? I believe in the app design project, I had you guys do a little bit of observation, judgment, and value, at which point you could reiterate on your designs. Concept and sketch is proposing solutions based on what you observe. So this would be a part of the iterative design process where you design a prototype and then you modify it accordingly based on the feedback of the end user. You can also use key metaphor. These are short phrases that can act as a figure of speech for an observation or a comprehensive observation. You know, a short phrase or a figure of speech, it is what it is, all right? That's not exactly a metaphor, but that may be an interpretation of an observation that did not yield any useful feedback, or the person that you were observing was not engaged enough to produce any tangible or meaningful feedback for you. And then extra, these are single word summaries of the observation: hard, easy, intuitive, organic. You can sort by sort, I mean, you can label by place or topic, or really whatever you want here. The steps: build a spreadsheet, add your observations to each of the items above, complete it fully, and then interpret the results. Here is an example. So C self-describes as OCD about keeping organized. Judgment: doesn't seem to like having to do the organizing in the house. The value here is the purpose of organization, the act of organizing. There's no concept sketch. And then a key metaphor would be MO, which is a character from Wall-E or Mo. So you can take a look at these, and you can sort of come to some interesting conclusions. So in row 46, this person self-describes as being OCD about keeping organized, but then they hate organizing. So that's quite the interesting conflict. So your goal would be to make organizing both appealing and easy to do. And finally, the Emoticon score method. This is essentially a Likert scale, which is used to rate the likability of something. You can use emoticons as emotional metaphors to grade likability. Think of this also in another way as like the pain scale. If any of you were ever hospitalized as a child, a nurse or doctor may ask you to choose the face or the emoticon or drawing that best represents your pain level. This is similar, except instead of measuring pain, it measures likability. These are open-ended and it really based on interpretation, but you could essentially rate these as you know, high, medium, high, bright green, subtler green, medium high, medium, medium low, and then low, or you know, whatever your spectrum is, you can identify that accordingly. This may be more useful for you for the purposes of the OS project and trying to get feedback on certain elements or the whole experience. But all you need to do is develop a visual emoticon scale, form your question, and survey your users. What would your question be? Well, is this website usable? Question mark. Or do you think this website represents simple, fun, and modern? Or what is your overall response or experience with this operating system? Ask the question, survey your users, collect the data, chart the results, and then modify your design accordingly. And these particular methods, I think, will be useful for you if you try them out. And it's not just related to digital marketing, design, digital design, web design, interactive design. You can apply these to anything. Okay. In point of fact, we use an emoticon score method here at my house with my daughter, and my daughter really does not like cleaning up. She has a lot of toys that have a lot of little tiny bits, Barbies, LOL surprise dolls, and whatnot. And we require that she clean them up, and she hates doing it. And then we use an emoticon score method to indicate our feelings on her reaction to not cleaning up. So generally, there's also a positive reinforcement attached to this. So if we are extremely happy, then she'll get a treat, piece of small candy, or maybe an ice cream or something like that. If it's red and it's extremely negative, then it's likely that she's having an epic freak out and she gets a timeout. And this is just over the reaction to being told that she has to clean up. Even if it's a small pile that takes 1 minute to clean up, I mean, we use it, and we found that more often than not, our reactions are in the medium. Like, yeah, she generally Amelia has a middling positive reaction to cleaning up. So she knows she has to do it. She knows she's responsible. And she knows that if she doesn't do it, she'll get a timeout or she won't get any more toys. So we both kind of meet in the middle, and we have to coax her into it. So we're always kind of in the center of the emoticon score method. But we show her these scores, we show her these, and she understands what positive and negative means. And she understands that there are motivations, or there's a series of actions and reactions that are associated with each of those scores. So if it's red, she can get a potential timeout or no more toys. Or if it's extremely green, then she knows she's doing a great job. She'll probably get a treat. The positive outcome will be reinforced. But since it's mostly in the middle and it's yellow, um, she knows that she herself has to be talked into it a little bit. So parenting is a lot of fun. I hope you learned a lot through this little session. But please consider trying these methods and reading more about them online. And I think that you'll have some success with them in your projects.